Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special meeting for the full City Council for Thursday, May 12th, 2022, 6 p.m.-ish. The clerk will call the roll to record attendance. I will play the role of the clerk today. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
I am here.
Councilor Bartley.
Here.
Councilor Givner. You're on mute, Councilor Givner? I see her. Councilor Jordan.
Here.
Councilor Maldonado Velez. Councilor McGee here. Councilor McGivern.
Here.
Councilor Murphy Ramboletti.
Here.
Councilor Puello. Councilor Israel Rivera. Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Here.
Councilor Tallman.
Here.
Councilor Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
in the city of Holyoke.
And the City
God bless
Council.
Zoom.
And Zoom.
First, let me welcome all the department heads, members of the public. Addison, how are you? Thank you for being here for tonight. The council did file an order back when to have the mayor come in and give the state of the city address. I spoke with the mayor, and the mayor said he would like to do it tonight, along with providing the budget to the council in order to then start the budget process. So it was my honor to introduce the mayor of the city of Holyoke, Mayor Garcia.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
First, I want to thank the members of the Holyoke City Council for the chance to address you tonight. It's been a real privilege to work alongside with you these past several months, and I do strongly believe that together we've shown that it's possible for local leaders to find common ground as we pursue the common good. I also want to thank the people of Holyoke for the opportunity you've given us to work on your behalf. We're here because of you, and we're here to make sure that your local government is working for you. I do also want to take an opportunity here to thank all our city departments and department heads who are here that work hard every single day under the circumstances provided to keep up with municipal services that our community expects. And just if we can give a quick round of applause for those department heads that are here. And lastly, I do also want to thank my wife, who's been very patient through this process the last 5 months. And we've sacrificed many nights and we've sacrificed many weekends, and it's because of her patience and support that I can stand before you tonight and present a city budget and speak a little bit about the state of our beloved city of Holyoke. We all know that the past 2 years have been difficult. Deadly virus swept across the globe, and life as we knew it was turned upside down, and our losses can hardly be measured. There's a long road of healing ahead still to come. But even in the face of such loss and such hardship, folks found ways to care for each other, to look out for each other, to lift each other up, because that's what happened here in the city of Holyoke. And if you want to know what Holyoke's all about, look no further than our diligent city employees who maintain city services throughout the pandemic. Look no further than our city's first responders, our police and our firefighters who came to work every single day and stood on the front lines fighting to save lives and protect our citizens. Look no further than our students who adjusted to the complicated environment of remote learning and teachers who persevered through unprecedented challenges. Over the past 2 years, we've seen a triumph of our social fabric, and we've seen a triumph of our basic goodness as people. We've been tested, but we haven't been defeated, so together, we're ready to write the next chapter in our history. There's a prosperous and stronger and more united Holyoke within reach, and we've never been in a better position to get there. Now, I'm not talking about returning to a pre-pandemic status quo. That was still a world where too many of our fellow Hoyokers got left behind. A world where too many were denied opportunities, and a world where our city government was hamstrung by an antiquated financial system. What I'm talking about instead is a Holyoke that pivots from crisis to recovery, from responding to calamity to embracing opportunity. Our local economy is strong, folks, and it's getting stronger. The manufacturing sector, the very foundation upon which Holyoke was built, it's back up and running. Former mill structures that once produced paper, silk, and woolens and wire are now home to cannabis cultivation and retail sales. The property and excise taxes and host fees from this industry have been a great boon to our local budget and economy, as well as a source of well-paying jobs. Holyoke's legendary green power continues to attract entrepreneurs and manufacturers looking for inexpensive energy. The behavioral health hospital under construction on Lower Westfield Road is looking forward to yield for the city of Holyoke roughly $1.5 million in new property tax revenue. New restaurants have opened up. Concerts have returned to our downtown at Gateway City Arts. The Holyoke Chamber of Commerce has participated in more than a dozen ribbon cuttings over just this past year, and there's much more in the pipeline. And throughout this year, we'll continue to see cultural celebrations and block parties throughout the city, from Fiesta Patronales to the Pride celebration to Ray Street Live and the Paper City Food Festival, and so much more. Our city's economy is roaring back in a way we haven't seen in a very long time. The budget being presented to you, councilors, tonight reflects that reality, avoiding short-sighted decisions and laying a foundation for long-term fiscal health. For the first time in more than a decade, the city budget is presented, it's in a surplus. And for those of you who don't spend your spare time obsessing about municipal finance, let me explain precisely what that means. City of Holyoke's doing all right, folks. We're on an economic upswing. We're seeing new growth and development throughout the city, as well as increases in home and property values. Given different circumstances, we could have decided to increase taxes and revenue to the levy limit. Instead, we're taking a fiscally responsible approach, a combination of conservative budget controls and taking advantage of alternative revenue sources. That means that the extra revenue we could be raising, which we call excess capacity, is still available to us in the future should the broader economic picture take a turn. In other words, we're offering relief to taxpayers now and saving some of our capacity potential for when we really need it. And we're doing so while maintaining, and in some cases even improving, the services that people rely on. The budget presented in the folders there, Councilor, results in no service reductions for FY23. And in some areas, it looks forward to restore services and also help build up and maintain capacity that keeps up with critical services, which is my year one priority. Because plugging the gap, creating turnovers, specifically in our professional supervisor positions, is important so that we can limit disruption, reduce negative impact to local services, and maximize on the city's management potential to collect new revenue and properly navigate the quality of life issues we're experiencing today. This is the mark of a fiscally healthy community, the ability to save and to plan ahead. Another indicator of Holyoke's fiscal progress, for the first time in years, we have a positive free cash balance, which means this budget, we won't be using our free cash to plug operating deficits. Instead, with the support of our city council, we'll use it to make one-time We'll use it to make important one-time investments that will strengthen our foundation and enable more progress in the future. Some of these investments includes building up our stabilization account, which I believe we haven't done in some time, creating a new stabilization account focused on capital investments and building that up, auditing our trash and recycling program as well as the performance of our Holyoke Police Department, reviewing downtown parking management, and more. But the most urgently needed investment has to do with strengthening our internal financial controls. Back when I was a candidate, I talked a lot about that. All of the great progress made and the progress that we can make means very little if we don't have a strong internal control in place here at City Hall to ensure the effective management of our resources. That's why I'm requesting support from the council to use a healthy level of free cash to invest in modernizing our municipal finance control system with the goal of fixing service gaps in our financial departments and supporting the core function of our local government that all our departments are depending on and that our community is depending on. Now, it's no secret that we may also need to work together to reform how our city finances are managed. I'm looking forward to working with all of you, members of our council, to figure out exactly what shape our future financial offices will take. This is going to have to be a team effort, and the investments we're making today will make sure that any future changes, will have a solid foundation upon which to rest. Because the bottom line is this: when it comes to our city finances, we're not simply responding to circumstances. That's not my management style. We're being proactive. We're pursuing a vision. And the same is true for other important areas in the life of the city. A city with strong finances and effective internal controls is then able to do so much more for its citizens, promoting economic opportunity and rapid recovery, ensuring public safety, and providing quality education, and caring for our environment and natural resources, investing in our capital, and guaranteeing the just treatment for everybody in every corner of our city. There's a lot of work already happening in these areas, but there's still so much more. We haven't even realized the potential here because of the disjointed system we have internally that we want to work on. I've always believed that government works even better when people get off the sidelines and get involved. And today I understand even more deeply that public officials can do a better job when people are pushing us and guiding us and advising us. That's why one of the first things I did upon taking office, thanks to the help of my colleagues on my transition team, was announce the creation of a 7-citizen advisory council. And you'll often see these volunteers, these members of our community that are part of these councils, gathered here at City Hall or at the public library discussing public safety and youth development and community communications and collaboration and government restructuring and modernization, environment and climate, housing and economic development. Some of these members have been involved in local government one way or another, and others are getting involved for the very first time. The questions that they're considering and the questions we elected officials are considering are all about values. That's ultimately what good government is about. Not just dollars and cents and revenues and expenditures, but how we manage these so that we can keep up with our values. Whether our kids will have a safe place to play or fun activities to keep them off the streets, that's about what we value as a community. Whether folks living in Ward 1 can live with the safety and peace of mind just as the people in Ward 7, that again is about values. I'm counting on these advisory councils to be a bridge between elected officials and the community that we represent, and to never let us lose sight of the fundamental questions at stake in every decision that we make together, counselors. Because of course, as we all recognize, there are still issues that we face. And there's one issue, and there is one that I must admit that keeps me up at night, and that issue is homelessness. Last winter, we saw this issue very clearly when we opened up pop-up warming shelters. We also saw the good that can be achieved by working together. I do want to give a shout out to One Holyoke CDC and the Masons of Mount Tom Lodge and Providence Ministries and many of our city department heads that came together and helped make these vitally needed resources available to the people in need. But Still, it's worth considering what conditions exist in our community that these shelters are even necessary in the first place. Many of those seeking warmth were experiencing long-term homelessness, while we were able to provide these people with a range of services, everything from recovery coaching to even offering haircuts. There is still so much more to do to attack this very complex problem upstream. Homelessness is a serious contributor to poor social outcomes broadly. It undermines a person's ability to get and keep a job. It contributes to families breaking apart. A child experiencing homelessness has a far more difficult time completing school. And in Holyoke, we have more than 200 kids that are in those circumstances. Whew. Forgive me. All right, get it together. Long-term homelessness can take as many as 25 years of a person's life. The list goes on, and that's before you get into the ripple effect of homelessness on a community, the harm it does to local businesses and residents, to the quality of life and public safety and economic development. Solving homelessness in our region is a moral imperative, and it will have a substantial benefit for everybody. And that is why I'll do everything I can in my powers for as long as I'm mayor to get the job done. Just last month, for example, we've witnessed the launch of Holyoke Hub, a collaboration of public safety officers and mental health professionals and social workers and educators and advocates. These folks get together every week to discuss the needs of the unhoused in our community. This week, the chair of the Mayoral Housing Advisory Council joined members of the Hampden County Continuum of Care at a Built for Zero conference in Chicago, where national housing experts will be discussing strategies for ending homelessness in local communities around the country. And soon, I do look forward to work with the council and implement those strategies accordingly as we see fit within the borders of our community. Soon we'll look forward to support a homeless liaison position, working on behalf of the city through our Board of Health that can better cross-coordinate the necessary collaboration and resources to better respond to these issues so that we're finally producing effective outcomes. Counselors and people of Holyoke, please understand that this particular issue, it's solvable, provided that we treat it as a public health problem that it is. We can create a world where homelessness is rare and brief when it occurs and is quickly resolved for those experiencing it. It's not a problem Holyoke can solve alone, and we'll need to work together with our partners in the region, including our friends of the Western Massachusetts Network to End Homelessness. I'm committed to making sure Holyoke is integrally involved in this regional strategy, because the Holyoke I've known all my life is one that helps people who are down and out on their luck. Ending homelessness is, like all the other issues we face, it's about what we value as a community. Now, in closing, I wanted to tell you about a recent opportunity I had to think about much of what I discussed tonight, our values, the work of good government, and what the city of Holyoke means to me. I visited first graders at Donahue School and I read to them. The book I read was written by Holyoke's children author, Leslie Newman. Leslie, are you in here? How you doing, Leslie? Welcome. The book is called Alicia and the Hurricane, the Story of Puerto Rico. The book tells the story of Alicia, a young girl who, along with her family, seeks shelter from Hurricane Maria. Alicia is especially concerned about the coquis, the tree frogs whose nightly singing every single night helps her go to sleep. And she's concerned as to whether or not they're going to survive the storm. As I read to the kids, my eyes start welling. My emotions overwhelm me. Later, when I was thinking about why, I realized a few things. In this story of in the story of Alicia, I could see the story of my own mother, who grew up in Puerto Rico, migrated here when she was 6 years old. I thought about how the same Holyoke that offered refuge to hundreds of Puerto Rican kids fleeing the wreckage of Hurricane Maria, how that is the same Holyoke that embraced my mother so many years ago. The Holyoke that made everything possible in my life, and in the many lives of generations of every Holyoker before me that sought refuge here in the city of Holyoke to mitigate hardship, whatever the circumstance might be. I thought too about the fear young Alicia must have been feeling as she huddled together with hundreds of her neighbors in this shelter, waiting out the storm. There's something so human about that, waiting out a storm and praying and just hoping for the best. Sometimes the storms we face, they're actual hurricanes, but other times they're personal, like a suffering of a loved one, and sometimes they're communal, like a pandemic that halts life as we know it. Sometimes they're unavoidable, and other times they're the result of human error, lack of foresight, and careful planning. Storms, they're just a fact of life. And the test of good government, indeed, the test of our brief lives together as counselor, is how we respond to these storms and build together as neighbors. Once again, Holyoke has a chance to respond with love and with kindness and with intelligence and with grace. And as we take up the work before us, the work that you'll be discussing that's in that budget, we can do so knowing that we, like Alicia and her family and her neighbors, along with the beloved Coquis, have made it through the other side and are still capable of singing our beautiful song today, tomorrow, and for many years to come. Thank you, counselors. God bless you. God bless the city of Holyoke.
Make a motion, we pass the budget.
I'll say.
Second.
Second.
So the next item on the agenda
Might help if we read it.
Yeah.
is the presentation of the fiscal 2023 budget. Everyone should have a copy. If not, Jeffrey will get it to you. It's actually in the back. Motion would be to.
Make a motion to lay it on the table.
Motion
Second.
is to lay it on the table. It was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? With that, that is the end of our
adjourn.
item.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
To
that.
adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.